We're just used to the language. So,
Crazy.
so why not? Why not, man? There might be dragons. Okay.
We're going live. Drag on, drag on. We're dragging on.
We are live.
We are live.
We were just having a great conversation. Now I gotta switch it up.
Nah, man, keep going.
What are
No,
you talking about?
I think it's foolishness to dismiss the entire historical record of people having supernatural encounters and ignore it as not part of our scroll. You gotta discount so much. Like real supernatural things are happening and positive changes are occurring because of it. We love to tell ourselves these stories. That's why we make up fiction. We know it.
Part of the problem
Our
is
gut.
that we think that the whole New Testament was written in this secular bubble.
Mm-hmm.
That's not the reality. Secularism is a Western culture idea. Prior
What?
to Western culture, secularism didn't exist. Secular actually is from the Latin, which means world. So it was of the world, spiritual and of the world.
Separation.
So in every other culture prior to that, there was no separation between the spiritual and the secular. It all blended. So
Yeah.
you gotta remember that the New Testament, you got new believers of the way of this man Yeshua, who has come along and said this is the way, contrary to all the other gods that are out there that are happening, and
Yep.
all their swirlies, all their miracles, all of their signs and wonders.
Yeah.
I think the caveat really is everything I think pivots on this idea of Christ or antichrist.
Yeah.
Mm.
Duality.
As Peter says, there's lots of antichrists out there. And we think, again, Western culture, Revelations, ooh, the dragon coming from, all we think end times, yeah, antichrist. But Peter's talking end times, the spirit of Christ versus the spirit that's of antichrist, which is contrary to love, faith, hope, the Son of God given as a gift to the earth to save mankind. The John 3:16, the spirit of Christ that's at work in the earth. You're either part of that or you're antichrist, which is a spirit of destruction, right? This that comes to eat, deliver, or I'm getting all messed up.
Kill and destroy.
That kill, destroy, right? Steal, kill, and destroy. That's the antichrist spirit. So really, if we bring it back to that concept, this is what was going on in the early church. They had temples and wild stuff going on in other religions, other belief systems. We think that they were just all westernized, rational, logical thinkers, and it is so far from the truth. So it's important to think about a new believer, this new faith, only several decades old, in the midst of these ancient, concrete, well, not concrete, but well-established
Yeah.
belief systems in
Yep.
in the known world.
Yeah.
That
Supernatural.
they're
You
coming
do
in,
this
right,
and you'll get this. You do this,
right,
it'll rain on your crops. That's money. And
right.
it happened.
And so there's a lot of varying ideas back then. I mean, that's
Yeah.
why the apostles had to go out and they had to write down doctrines, letters, send letters out. Hey
But like,
guys, there's stuff
what's
out
the
there,
age?
let's get our focus. Let's get what are we about?
And I think it stands to logic. Like I don't know if I'm that logical, so I shouldn't speak that way. But if you think about it, it just makes sense. So how is that position of the church to dismiss everything any different than what we would how we would criticize the age of reason and knowledge over the last couple hundred years? Where really, I mean, that is a very, very present perspective. Is if I can't measure it, it doesn't exist. We can't measure the soul. We can't see the soul. There's no evidence of the soul. So you've not convinced me it exists. So we are purely biological, and they want to write off everything supernatural, all superstition and garbage, right? How is the church behaving any differently? By dismissing everything supernatural as polarized as either Christ or demon. It's foolish. If we are, so look at the Watchers in Enoch. They had remorse. They wanted to get back, and then in that in the accepted Old Testament too, like isn't that story where they wanted to apologize, but Yahweh said no, you're not
I
getting
don't recall that.
forgiveness.
We'll have to find a
It's
reference
not
on
in
that.
the canon.
Mhm.
Ah, dang it. Oh well, that's okay. Anyway, we aren't having a canon conversation, so we accept that.
Just got shot out of the brother.
That's right. If they could, yeah, straight out of the canon. All right. So the Watchers had remorse. Because they made a considerable effort to oppose like that. That's like the heart, pure antichrist spirit. They looked at the world, saw the way it was, and said, "We're going to work against it. We're going to knock this down." And we might get busted for it, but we're all willing to do it. You all went with me. Like they made this really complicated, aware, against him. And then afterwards was like, okay, that was a bad idea. They knew it was a bad idea going in. So there was something that changed afterwards where they had remorse. So I'm going to assume that remorse was genuine. Why can't they also exhibit love? Yeah, I'm on the outs. I'm not getting forgiveness. I don't know why. Even him doing that doesn't quite match the character of my father as I understand him. So I don't get it. Like, Yahweh, man, that seems kind of harsh, right? Like, you'll forgive me for anything. And these cats don't get away with this, and they seem sorry. Like, you're the
They're outside
God.
of time and space.
Right, so there's something going on there, and I don't know what purpose it is. This is like a Job moment. Like, okay, whatever your plan is cool. But
There's a
they could
mystery.
also exhibit love. Why couldn't they say, man, spend the rest of their existence until this day saying, I want to see my father's plan, and my father's plan is love for each other. And I know that, right? I'm not going to get forgiveness. I respect that. I get it, but I want to help his people. I want to help his children, and have spent the last millennias doing their best to make up for what they did. Are they not our partners in some way? Should I be afraid of them because they were the Watchers? Cannot a son of the king say, okay, you plow that field, and you're not getting anything from me that my father didn't give you, but you have my permission, you have my partnership.
But they're not humans. There's different. And
Neither is the wind,
Book of Enoch was written way back in the day.
right?
We're still assuming that the Book of Enoch, and everything. I guess for me, this past couple years has been a real season of asking a lot of questions. And when these, especially, you guys know for sure, I've asked a lot of questions. And
Yeah, questions are good.
questions are good. I'm not necessarily a question asker. That's the thing. So when I start asking questions, it's more out of frustration, I guess, that I have been lied to. That's when I start, because I am I trust.
We're
And,
supposed to, yeah.
supposedly religion, church is supposed to be trustworthy. That's the whole point.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
come, you trust, you go to, and for those out in the audience, I'm a preacher's kid. So I grew up in the church, and, I've got my own beliefs, and I'm way out there as far as I stretch the bounds. And I continue to stretch the bounds. And so I guess I question sometimes without actually questioning. I just do, because I'm like, okay, this feels good. I'm going there. And I don't necessarily ask why I'm going there. I just go, you know what? It feels good for me to go there.
Yeah.
So when we started getting into the realms, as far as what we call the realms, I had been there for quite a while. I just didn't know. I didn't have the language for a lot of the stuff. I was just out there, communicating and doing all the stuff. But there was still the foundation, the belief system that I had, that the Bible was concrete. The Word of God was, the truth, the way, the life, the Bible. And so, when we started, started asking questions about the validity of a lot of the Bible and why it was written the way it was written, and I started getting like, this really ticks me off that we are missing so much, you know. I mean, you literally take out pretty much all the supernatural stuff of the Bible that was written. 69 books, yes, that's awesome. But there's at least another 20 plus that should have been, in the canon itself. Um, and that was 2,000 years ago. I think that, the Bible, it builds on truths. It builds on precept to precept to precept. So we keep going back to the Bible. And I maybe this is a little bit of heresy, but I feel like that thing should have volumes and volumes and volumes more, because we have 2,000 plus years of sons' experiences that we're not accounting for. And just because their book isn't in the in between the two bindings of the Bible doesn't mean it's not truth.
Yeah.
And that's, for me, is just like, you know what, I am not the one concrete foundation I am standing on is that Yahweh is my father, Yeshua is my brother, and Ruach HaKodesh is my Holy Spirit and resides here in me right now. And the kingdom of heaven is at hand, and there is a ton of kingdom that I am out there exploring. And so
Yeah, it's a
that's the
big
thing. When
kingdom.
it comes to, we're talking about dragons and, all this stuff. For one thing, if any of you guys know this, for me, words are power. And the Father uses a lot of words in my thing. And dragon for me is things are dragging on, drag on. So when I experience a dragon, in my experience, that means it's something that is dragging on that needs to be dealt with.
That's good, bro.
Now, I believe in dragons. We were talking about it earlier. They're the seraphim. We know that they are serpent like creatures.
Fiery.
They're created.
Stand back 500 feet, folks.
Yep. Not just little old dragons that we can 3D print. If those really came, we use those as little toys and little representations. But if they really showed up in your room, you would be crapping your pants, or at least looking down to see if there's water dribbling down your legs. A lot of the church, we just they're symbols and they're cool and they're but the reality is, and I think the reality is, we do all have there. That's why the stories of fighting the dragons, the knights go out and fight the dragons, because the treasures that they hold are supposed to be ours. And so that's, I had a dragon in my room. I had a dragon. I loved it. It was actually made for me. It was created for me, 3D print thing. It was really good by a friend of ours, and but I had one of my times, an encounter where the Father just said, you know what? I don't want you to have that right now. You can give it back. There's nothing wrong. The person that has it, she will gladly take it. And she's got a ton of them, and I go visit her house all the time, and she's got a load of those beautiful made dragons, and it's just awesome. And that's her thing. But for me, as a son, the Father said, that's not your thing. It's just like, you can't be friends with dragons and fight them too. And so for me right now, the Lord is saying, I need you to go slay the dragons. And they're not necessarily mindsets. They're more in the other realms. And yes, I have gone, and I'm dealing with that stuff. And but I mean, I love Avatar, the movie Avatar. Those creatures are dragons. And the cool thing is about the character, the one character that couldn't walk, in the first one, he, when he was in his avatar, he was free, fearless. He went above and beyond. He took the basically he took the stronghold that was around that area at the time, went above it on his own dragon, and then launched off into the dragon of fire. That's what it was. And then became friends with that thing. Had communication through the tail thing, the thing that they do, and then came back in and said, and it brought total respect to the tribe that he was, he's just like, I'm with you guys. I am with you guys. Let's go fight the real bad guy. The real bad guy that's bringing evil, the real bad guy that's trying to destroy everything, the real guy that's trying to destroy everything. So, but that's just how my mind thinks. Not everybody's going to get it. Not everybody's going to go there. It does wig me out a little bit when we talk about these things because this is the thing. I'm still questioning. I'm like, there's always a point because I've always been one that has gone past the line. And so I'm always like, oh, did I go too far? Did I step my bounds? Am I going to get called to the principal's office or the pastor's office?
Right.
Or, so that's where my relationship with my father is taking me, in this time. And he will chastise me if need be. But he hasn't, but he's very gentle with me. If I ever go out of bounds, and it's to the point of, I feel like that right now the sons are experimenting. And because we've been held back for so long, especially in the religious, that we've been held back for so long, we don't necessarily know what's right from wrong in a sense on some certain things. And so we're going out there. And it's just like, for me, I'm not going out. I am not going to go out there to the point where I'm not going to share it with my group here, my ATS team, my ATS family. Because to me, there's still a safety in numbers. There still is, and I can trust you guys. And so that's the thing. I'm going out there, not with a leash on, but knowing that, you guys will ask the questions like, okay, so is that P48, you think? Is that QRST? And are you, are the pillars, like Chris did a great thing today for us, and we're gonna watch a video together and just come back and discuss it. And I think that's healthy. I think it's good that we can do this. And not everybody, we our scrolls are like this, but at the same time, there's things in our scrolls that are written that not all of us are a part of, and that's okay. That's the part that gets me, because that's the part that has always gotten me in trouble. Is just like, oh, that's not okay. I got to follow that. I got to always be doing that. I got to defer to that. I got to, and the father's saying, okay, it's both and you can do that. And I'm going to let you soar into and do your thing as well. So
My heart is always, when it comes to all these mysteries, these unanswered questions, and we've been getting a lot of them in the past 5, 6, 7. Oh, we stepped into this stuff years or so. I always go back to just this phrase I had to look it up again because I forgot where it's at, but Mary, mother of Jesus, she's holding a mystery and she doesn't fully understand. It's broader than her mind can contain. And it says she treasured up she treasured up all these things and pondered them in her heart. And that's kind of the place I go to is when I'm introduced to something that's a mystery and my mind just can't seem to wrap around it, or it seems to conflict with my current paradigms. Um, I just hold them in my heart and ponder them and let them sit, let them stew, let them brood, however, and let the Father in time work them in or work them out. Um, and sometimes I will ruminate too long on something that isn't in my pathway, and I'm starting to lean, and I trust my Father to just grab my chin and pull my face back into His face, very gently say, "Hey, it's interesting. Let's get back to what we're about. This is what I want you to focus on." And it's not even speaking back negatively to those things, even because there's a lot of things that others are doing that are right aligned to their scroll and what Father's calling them to do, but they're not where He's having me go. He's not letting me look, doesn't want me to look that direction right now. And so it's not a judgment upon right or wrong in that circumstance. It's a realignment of my face to His face according to the pathways, the scrolls that He has for me to follow. And so that's kind of the only way you can manage it. Like going back to what Boston C's talked about a lot about the unique realities that we each have. My world may have dragons and yours might not. My reality may deal with them differently. This is the chaos at work in the organization of sovereignty that Yahweh established. It's not, I mean, sovereignty is so much more than just making a yes or no choice, choosing A or B. It incorporates a whole realm or realms, multiverses in a unit called the sovereign person, sovereign man, sovereign woman, that carries within it this reality that is totally real to that person, but stands in conflict or contrast to another person's reality. And if you try to figure out how to make all that work together, you go crazy or you become totalitarian.
Yeah.
And you force people into your reality by the force of violence, right? And so it's really the weak-minded that go that route. I can't manage a reality where your reality exists next to mine in contrast. And so I'm going to have to enforce my reality upon you because I'm too weak-minded to allow that to stay put. I'm too worried that your reality will come crashing upon my reality and change me. And I don't like that. So I'm going to act first in an offensive way, right? That is the danger of all sovereign beings. And we've seen it play out time and time again inside and outside the church, in every religion, in every government, in every community, in every nation, in every tribe, every tongue has had to deal with this contention of of poly realities, right? Um, these multiverses existing, coexisting next to each other. It's challenging. I think that's why we raise children with protections to a degree. We want to form them and structure them because they don't have the capacity. Maybe I'm wrong. I'm starting to think about that. We think we gotta, well, I mean, we talk about training a child in the way you should go. What does that look like when you give them carte blanche to anything and everything? Usually it's very destructive to nature because a child is unable to manage the capacities that are necessary to onboard these chaotic things, right? The aperture, I call it the aperture of chaos, where I open up that aperture and allow chaos to flood in, the mysteries, the secrets, the unknowns. And if I get overwhelmed, I have to close it. I manage that aperture according to my capacity to manage the chaos. And most children do not have that capability. They haven't developed that muscle. They haven't developed that strength. And that's why parenting is necessary, to manage that aperture for that child and train them how to manage that chaos aperture for their own lives and how to steward that in relationship with their creator. All right. That I think is the limits of our parenting. And then we hand them off. Once we've trained them how to manage that chaos, we hand them off to the Father. Say, well, they were always his, right? But in that season, he's given us this stewardship responsibility. We then, it comes to an end, we hand them off and say, okay, now you and Father go and figure out how to manage your reality, how to manage the chaos, input and output in that reality. And just keep your yes on to your Father and let him control your sight, your vision, right? And I think that's the only way forward. It's only the only universal concept that I think that works in a world where people are all over the map when it comes to supernatural stuff, or not on the map altogether. You know, there's plenty that roll up that in a ball, throw it in the trash bin, right? The cessationists, all that stuff stopped. It's just the Bible and nothing more, right? And so you've got those realities. Are totally atheist towards the supernatural, except for what might break in by Yahweh and his choice. All others are just forbidden. So we got a spectrum. We've got a wide, limitless spectrum of realities that are sometimes, it seems like everybody's dueling each other. I think that's why we come together in community and try to find others who are experiencing the same reality to some degree. 80% compatible. In our, I probably should be one of those questions in your dating apps where you try to figure out if this person's compatible. What's your spiritual, supernatural, compatibility to mine? Are we going to work together? Do
Feel
you believe in
about the
dragons or
Matrix.
don't? Yeah. So
You believe in bullet time? Yes or no?
yeah, it's a funny thing, but it's more entwined into our relationships than we realize. There's no answer to this. We're talking at length trying to come to this solution, but there really isn't a solution. I think that the best thing we do is empower people to press into their relationship with the Creator, empower them to give themselves grace in the journey, give others grace, empower them to love and do no harm to themselves, to their fellow man, their species, to creation. And if they lean into that, we let them go, and then empower people to push off evil in every form or fashion or function that it might arise in our day and age. And that's the hard part too, because sometimes in the mystery of things that we have been culturized or trained, programmed, just say one thing is evil and another thing is good. That gets challenged, and we have to come back to what's our plumb line, or what's good, what's evil, what's love, what's hate, what's true, what's false, what's belief, what's unbelief, and allow ourselves to question again and keep that question door open to whether dragons are good or bad, aliens are good or bad, and each person is going to have to figure that one out on their own. But I think there is a universal principle about love that will never go wrong. And if we can maintain that as one of the main plumb lines, then I think we'll be okay. If a dragon is good or bad, I don't know. Is it exhibiting the love? Does it create life, or does it destroy? Right? I mean, going back to the Bible and reading about a third of the stars falling, right? If we just keep in that particular mythology, someone call it, or reality of the past, well, that means that if a third of the stars were, let's say, seraphim, and then a third, 2/3 the other seraphim, that means, or watchers, or whatever, put in the name of the being that you're talking about, there there's it seems to make sense. A logical progression of this thought would be, well, some chose to go evil and some remained in their estate. So if there are dragons that did fall from their estate or change their state, there are those that remained in their estate, and therefore perhaps they continue in the estate of fulfilling the calling of the Father upon their lives and what they're intended to design to do. And as sons who are lords over creation because of our birthright, we have the birthright to engage with those who haven't fallen. And I think in our journey with our Father in maturity and maturation of that responsibility as governing his creation, then we have given, would be given permission to engage those things accordingly, right? And engage with those beings who would work alongside us and partner with the purposes of our Father in creation, be they dragons, seraphim, aliens.
Unicorns.
The challenge is a lot of these beings been around a long time, and it's not to know right away whether one is wicked or one is good, because um, their wisdom, their knowledge of things and how they work supersedes ours, right? Why does David say, for a time we were below than angels? I don't think it's a rank thing. I think it's a revelation thing, even more so, right? That Lucifer treads around like an angel of light, seeking to deceive. And I think that's the caveat, is when you engage with these things, are you being deceived or not? How do you know? Fruit falls from the tree that it grows from. So we have time to allow the fruit to play out. And that's what we do with each other. Well, okay, this man is engaging with dragons. Let's see how his fruit reveals the character of his nature and the produce of his hands and his voice. And give time, allow time to produce the fruit. Is it destroying or is it creating? Is it giving life or is it deceiving and causing death? Is it look like, taste like, smell like our Father and our Creator? Those are the plumb lines, I think. And sometimes there's no way to instantly judge that, you know. That's why I keep going back to the Father. My life, my reality is I'm gonna lean in my Father, and when the time comes for me to engage the aliens on Jupiter, then he'll introduce me to them, and then I'll have the safety net of my Father, my brother, and Ruach to lead and guide me in that engagement and responsibility that he's putting upon me, that privilege to rule and reign in his kingdom. Till then, hands off. Not necessary. I got enough junk to deal with as it is internally. I got this own kingdom to get right and aligned up to that. So, more power to those who have been given privileges to engage with dragons in such a way that they can build kingdoms, restore planets. Okay, go ahead. For me, I'm gonna just keep where I'm at, and at the same time, knowing some things are out there, I'm like, when can I play with the dragons, Papa? When can I go fly it to Jupiter? When can I do these things?
That's
And
right there. That's the value. Please, I'll come back to that though.
yeah, and then I just put it in him, and he says, when it's time, and that's because he's not withhold. A good father does not withhold his loving good gifts and his desires for you. He's, if anything, he's sitting on his edge of his chair waiting for the opportunity, but he doesn't want to destroy us by heaping loads of responsibilities and privileges, because he knows it'll cause us to be frustrated and get into places we don't need to be that are unnecessary in our growing up, right? We don't need the school hard knocks, right? We don't need to do the suck things all the time because we make poor choices. And he's not going to put us in suck positions that we can't handle because he doesn't want us to be consternated. He doesn't want us to be frustrated. He doesn't want us to live in confusion and deception because of ignorance. So he protects us until we are mature enough to onboard the chaos and to blow our minds yet again. I didn't know that they existed. Well, yeah, they did, but you weren't ready for them yet. And that's okay. It's not a negative. It's just process of maturing. But I'm going to give you what I intend to give you if you'll just keep leaning into me.
And because of that partnership in relationship with the Father, I don't think we have to be as careful as we thought we had to be. That's the value of these conversations. It's like a bread catalog. And when my dad promises if I ask for bread, he's not going to give me a stone, okay, what kind of bread do I want? I don't know. Well, for my entire life, I was raised to be careful. Be careful. Why? I'm a son of the king. If I have a relationship with my father, what do I need to be careful about? A genuine question. And I think that's the value of these conversations is it's undoing the unseen bands of limitation that were placed around my heart by agreeing with this idea of fragility.
Which was really fear.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I hear this guy
rules.
talk about dragons, and I'm like, okay, since I was 10, I've been reading stories about dragons. Wishing that stuff was true. It might be. Those fiction books may have been closer to reality than fancy. Okay, I don't want to be careful. I want to be where I'm supposed to be. I don't want to have, maybe the limitations of the Father and not overwhelming us is not because of some innate incompatibility with these things that blow my mind, but the subtle belief that I needed to be careful because I could fall.
Because we were children back then.
Sure.
Being a child, well, I'm just using it even in the spiritual sense.
Yeah.
As a child, yeah, your father's saying be careful.
Yep.
When you grow up and mature, you know how to be careful. You know, you have your limits or your expectations that you want to stay within.
Yeah.
And then you don't have to ask for permission, and you in reality, you leave your father's house.
Yeah. And I
Whether
expect him to be with me.
Yeah, and that he is going to. Yeah, because
Right.
it's in here. So we don't have to live in that fragile state of fear all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a change. Like the word careful, right? What it is, I've thought about this word a lot. We use it just flippantly. Be careful.
gosh.
Watch out.
Yeah.
But what does it really mean? Full of care. Care of the wrong things. We should be caring about a lot of stuff, being full of care towards what? Not about doing wrong or doing harm, but delighting my Father.
Yeah.
And if my Father is leading me in a certain direction, it delights him that I care in the direction and path what he's doing. It's not being afraid of doing wrong. It's being careful of delighting my Father's heart in my thoughts and actions and deeds. Right. And that shifts away from the day actually freedom because he's like, I've given you all these green lights. Go. Just go.
Yeah.
And I will watch over you and I will lead you and I will keep you from harm. To be afraid of the green lights, to put your foot on the pedal to go, is being careful in the wrong direction. Well, if I hit go, there might be a car that hits me in the intersection. Right? It's the wrong mindset.
Yeah.
We're worried about the dragons out there. Therefore, we never leave the front door, the threshold of our house. He says, go.
Yeah, go catch
Delight me
something
in by
dangerous.
stepping out there,
I'll
going
let
on
you know.
adventure, and I will protect you. I will carry you. Right? Why is she would say, why is the Hasatan tells, Christ in the temple, throw yourself down, he'll give your angels watch over you. It wasn't a testing of that, it was a testing of the nature of Yahweh, of his character, of saying he's not really going to be there for you. That was what it was testing. It wasn't that he was saying, I'm going to ask for the angels, like, don't test me like that. This is he has the provisions for us to go on the adventure and to discover his nature and his character in creation and in the beings that exist out there. Go. Be careful to delight him in that process. Be careful, full of care to find his smiles and his delight and you stepping out in that adventure and becoming who you're supposed to be. Right? That's one about the whole thing about kids, boys growing up is the wild at heart. And I know this book has been used and talked about so many times. But it's true that boys are desiring to be adventurous, and the culture we've grown up in the past decade, 2 decades, 3 decades, have been stripping away this wild at heart attitude, this adventurous spirit to go. Green lights, Father says go, but the culture's saying no. Stay home, stay safe, be careful because the boogeyman's outside the front door. And the church has been partnering in that spirit for a long time.
Is
Yeah.
Yahweh adventurous or nurturing?
Yes.
Oh,
Both.
oh, good answer, bro. There it is. There's my man. I love it. So which one is it? Yes. Oh, male and female. Oh, all the attributes are in there.
Yeah, I think I saw something the other day. I think it was Jordan Peterson. He said it was talking about the scholastic system, high school and then college. And I think he said something like culturally, we hold off creating adults as long as we can. Like in the past, you didn't have a choice. 14 years old, you knew the world because it had already smacked you a couple times, and you had to harden up and make some adult decisions on your own. That was just the way it was. And now we've got this system in place culturally where we hold off maturity, protect the kids as much as we can, and we're fighting over which books to ban. How about teaching the kids which books to read and to digest? Like that's good too, right? Sure, keep the snakes out of the crib, but what about teaching the dude to get out of the crib and watch for snakes? We got to do that, and we've created an atmosphere of holding that off for as long as possible, and we would be fools to say the church hasn't done that too, in a way.
Yeah.
These are the reading come up here by Aaron Smith. Definitely recommend the book. One of the things he talked about is the 4 slave systems that humanity is been dealing with for a long time. Babylon, the slave system of Babylon, when you think about it metaphorically, but think about how it applies today. The world system, we're in the world, but we're not of the world, right? And then the Greek system, academia, philosophy, all those things, right? So you got the academia mind. Isn't it interesting what's going on in the Greek mindset below the sun? And then, of course, you've got Egypt, another slave system, the flesh, the beast nature, all the little naughty things, the secret things that are going on that everybody thinks nobody's looking when you're seen. We could see, you can observe by somebody's character, their nature. So we can see it below the sun, but it's also seen in the unseen. And then, of course, you've got the other slave system, which I know we use the word religion, which is another system of tradition and, my religion versus your religion, because at the end of the day, everybody needs to know that everybody has a religion. You have a belief system, that's your religion. And so just the revelation of understanding. So we've been participating in this forced slave system for a really long time. And as Joy Jedi says, you know what? I don't like being lied to. Neither does Boston C. So guess what? I'm out. All those 4 slave systems, you're all fired.
That's right.
And that's it. So it's right there is the start of the journey. Spiritually.
Yep.
Soulish, your body. You want health, you want prosperity. Look at the 4 types of slave systems that, and we've been intentional in some areas, and in some we've been enslaved without even just groupthink, whatever you want to call it. We've got to come up as a people, as a species, and give ourselves the opportunity to say, hey, you know what? Maybe there's more to what's happening with me and what's going on here below the sun. Maybe I should start asking some questions. Yeah. And oftentimes you can ask those questions by having a real conversation with yourself. Oh, wait a minute, yourself. Do you ever have a conversation with yourself? Well, yeah. So for the last 45 minutes, where's Yahweh been? All I know is, I don't know about you guys, but I've been listening to him speak for the last 45 minutes with these other 3 jabrones here. He's in all of us, folks. He's in you. You think it's you. You're listening to voices. You got to separate. And one of the keys to do that is practice loving big. Love. It's love. That's the key. You got to operate in love. Think about love. Love big love. Yeah, but I don't know if there's a big love. Well, do you think it might be a pretty good frequency if there really is a big love? That's the highest frequency.
Right.
If it exists, do you think it might be a good thing?
To try it out.
Go look at it to see if it's there.
See what happens. It'll meet you where you need to be.
Well, yeah, but I might get tripped up. I might run into it like a dragon. Yeah. So. Yeah. I mean, I love it. Yeah, and we all, and this is, to me, is a revelation that when you begin to think about, okay, so if there's a love frequency, whatever you want to call his name, and we're all trying to be unity, and we're all kumbaya, and we're companions above the sun, we're humanity, we're all one consciousness. True story. But you know what? I'm Boston C. And Boston C wants to know where this guy fits in the big consciousness. So, because, Big Love, he's busy. There's a lot of beings. It was 8.5 billion here below the sun. Where do I fit in this deal? Great question, Boston C. So if I'm Big Love and I created everything, I'm outside of my creation. Maybe I have the capacity, since I created everything, maybe I can have a unique relationship with you and have a unique relationship with that one. Just kind of like you do. You got, Boston C, how many kids you got? 5 kids. 4 are with you, 1's with me. You love them all, don't you, Boston C? Yes, sir. Do you love them all the same? Yes, sir. Is there anything that they can do to get you to love them more than you already do? No, sir. Is there anything that they're going to do that's going to make you love them any less? Oh, sir. But you can love them differently. As your kids say, I'm the special one. Dad's my favorite. I'm Dad's favorite. Okay. You can feel that way. I love you all the same, but I do love you different. Sometimes. Sometimes I don't like you. Still love you.
What? Oh.
Big Love is the same way, guys. Okay. We all have our own unique dimensional reality with Big Love that's special to us on the inside. we are not going to be able to be a community of like-minded believers until you get that revelation. So yes, Yeshua went to the cross individually, corporately, but for each of us. Don't go. Don't do that. You don't have to do that. Don't do that. Don't do that. Why are you doing that for me? You know why. Don't do that. Don't go. Don't go. Don't go. I'll be back. Man, that's heavy. Kind of makes me think, man, you did that for each of us individually. Whether we believe it, whether we come to the revelation, or whether we totally reject it. Those dimensions, those realms are still alive, and he's still pursuing. He's doing his deal. That's why all we have to do is just strive to thrive in our own lane and just take out our own trash and just be confident in our own relationship. He's not having a go at anybody. He's just trying to he just wants its relationship. That's what religion is. It's relationship with big love. Crazy good. Crazy good. And a crazy below the sun. Look, what in the Sam Hill is going on down here?
Oh.
Are we going to have an election? I don't know. Who's going to win? I haven't decided yet. Yeah.
It's really easy when you just focus on love. Decisions are really easy.
I don't hear anybody.
The
If you're
hard
not
part,
talking about love, then something's not right.
Right. Well, most of the arguments center around judgment, correcting the evil. That's most of the time where we have different viewpoints and difficult conversations. It's like, are you going to swing the sword? No, I don't. I just do love stuff. Are you going to swing the sword? I don't know. Is he supposed to be getting his head cut off or not? I don't know. I mean, is this guy supposed to be destroyed or is he supposed to be alive? I don't know. Well, and that's really, I think that's where the premise of most of our discussions are at, is judging whether this wicked thing or being a person or entity should get his, dues. And whether he falls in line to this or he should be recompensed and delivered or not. When it comes to love, that's real flipping easy. Just love. Do no harm. And I think that's the best place to be. I think 99% of our attitude and spirit should be leaning into that. And then that 1% should be, a momentary administration of judgment and then move right back into love. I think that's the healthiest place to be. Certainly can't live in, I think that's the reality is that's where unity exists. This connectivity is this in the place of love. Because we certainly don't see unity, and it's very difficult to find commonality in the earth right now when it comes to judgment. And that's but it was a lot of people live there right now, especially red, blue. They're the ones that are bad. They've been doing evil. No, they're the ones that are bad. They're telling lies. Well, they're telling lies. And it's just like you spend so much time in that area. It's hard to live in the realm of love when that becomes such a normal daily vibration.
And then if you want to get scientific and you're not happy with what's going on in your life and your circumstances, well, you know what? Here's a little scientific experiment that's observable, and you can repeat your observations for the next 30 days. Meditate around what a frequency, the highest frequency that created everything that you can see with our P9 brains. And let's imagine and pretend that a big love is, that love frequency is there. God, source, whatever, you do you. Okay? So think about that. Spend a little bit of time, 5-10 minutes. Life's chaotic, it's hard, but just kind of get your brain wrapped around what pure love would feel like. And then as you think about that, when we get up every day, the little things, try to practice loving big. Instead of flipping the guy off or the lady off that was in the wrong, been there. I know. Wanting to be quick with your mouth because you got the really word of the Lord. You're gonna get a good zinger here to try to help somebody get on the path. But there was no love. So take the little things and then just try to release the frequency. I know it's hard because you haven't been filled up. You're running your empty tank, right? And then for the next 30 days, above and beyond that, give yourself a hall pass. Love yourself. Stop kicking your own tail because it's something that's in you that you feed, that feeds off of you. Okay? Shame, guilt, all the stuff. They're all malevolent entities, companions, that feed off the dust of your corrupt thoughts. It's all science. So for the next 30 days, practice love and big love. Love big every day. Do the best you can. Take out your own trash every day. And give yourself 30 days. Let yourself out of your own prison for 30 days. And then do an evaluation after 30 days and see how your health is doing. Oh, you had the bad diagnosis? How we doing? Finances worried, this, that, all the worry, all the things. See how you feel after 30 days. Then give us a call back and report back. Try that. That's free. You don't have to go to the pharmacy and get a prescription. You just got it.
You got the Boston C right there. Vitamin C right there.
Pay it forward.
That's right.
Oh, we got 4 minutes.
So good.
Wow.
I'm game.
Yeah, maybe maybe the way we've codified who God is and what He wants me to do and what's right and what's wrong is the problem. It was a problem in Yeshua's day. That's why they killed him. He attacked how they had codified relationship with Yahweh. He's like, nah, it's way simpler than that. In fact, maybe 10 commands was too many. Let's give you 2. You took the wrong idea and ran
And they weren't even commands. They were directions. You're trying to get to a destination, go up to the 3rd light, take a right. Yeah. Right behind the Dairy Queen, there's a barn. Go down 300 yards over the fence. It's right there.
That's right.
I gave you 10.
Religion calls them commandments. They're really actually directions.
Yeah, you expanded the package to like 600 and something. It got real confusing. We're going to limit this down.
You got boxes on your forehead. You got bells on the bottom. Really?
Like, you might have overcomplicated things a little bit. Not saying it was a bad thing. Maybe I like the boxes. I love your boxes.
What's in the box?
And everything. Like, it's a good thing. It's beautiful. It's beautiful. But let's tone it back a little bit. Here's 2. Just 2. You love your father. Love your neighbor as yourself. Just focus there. All the rest will shake out where it needs to. Box, don't box. Tassel, don't tassel. Dragon, don't dragon. You'll be all right. That's it.
That's it, bro.
Maybe is it that simple? Like, is it that simple?
Hello, McFly. Captain Obvious.
It seems too easy. There's not enough ingredients in this recipe. Nah, everything else falls under it. It'll be all right.
Andy Womack is a good man. He's got a ministry out in Colorado. He said, man, it's so easy. You have to have somebody to help you misunderstand it. I was like, that's good, man. I got to take that. That was so funny. Yeah.
So it really is as simple for a child to get.
Yeah.
Okay. So he wasn't lying. He wasn't lying when he said that. Okay. What about dragons on Jupiter? Okay.
Kids love dragons on Jupiter.
Jupiter dragons.
That's the thing. Their imagination goes there, and they're on the dragon past Jupiter, and I mean building castles on Jupiter. I mean they got it down.
Yeah. Knock yourself out, man.
Right.
Yeah. Don't let them keep that.
As I like to say, things certainly changed after 2020, didn't they? 2024. Yeah, as I like to say, we're in what it's still the month of September. So yeah, season 5, episode 9. Stay tuned in above the sun. What an opportunity.
What an opportunity.
And all you got, and it's just the power of making good decisions and good choices. And you know what? I think I'm gonna like take responsibility for my own thinking. You know, maybe I just need to unplug. Maybe I need to do more of this and less of that.
But don't be careful. Don't be careful.
Listen,
That's right.
Big Love says this: if you're not living on the edge of Big Love, you're taking up too much space. True story. That's why. Yes.
Yeah, man, in for a penny and for a pound. Come on. We're halfway there just showing up to church, man. You're halfway to Crazy Town. Just keep going a little bit. Come on. Right? Like, I mean, if you believe in Sky Papa, what's weird after that?
Yeah.
Really? Nothing.
Too cool.
With that,
With that,
we're gonna leave that on high.
Hour, folks.
man, this'll preach.
Top of the hour.
Get the CD.
That's right.
All right.
Love you all.
Love you
Love
all.
y'all. Shalom.
Love you
Wow.
soon. Stay in the way. Stay in the path.
Yep. Catch you next week.